Kia ora koutou whānau, it's Tony from Fresh Truth. Today I'm just going to bring you a short video looking at the New Testament English word hell. What does the New Testament mean when it uses the term hell? Now, unfortunately in the English it's one word, but that one word hell is used to translate three different Greek words which refer to three different places. The first word is Hades. The second Greek word is Gehenna or Gehenna, which is the lake of fire. And the third Greek word is Tartarus. And Tartarus is the place where the fallen angels of Genesis 6 are held, those angels that left their habitation and procreated with human women. Now, we're not going to have a look at that. We're just going to have a look at Hades and Gehenna, places where the spirits of dead humans would go. So if you're thinking of hell as the place of eternal damnation, then you're thinking of Gehenna, the lake of fire. But if you're thinking of hell as a place where there are already humans in there and there's suffering and torment and flames, then you're actually thinking of Hades. Now, Hades in Greek mythology is the underworld, the place of the dead, and there your good deeds are weighed up against your bad deeds. But in the New Testament, Hades is used to refer to the place of the dead, which is equivalent to the Old Testament term Sheol. And in the Old Testament, Sheol is the place where all the spirits of the dead go, and whether you're righteous or unrighteous. But in that place, Sheol or Hades, there are two different places you can go when you die. There's an unrighteous side, which is a side that of torment and flames, and then there's also a righteous side called Abraham's bosom or paradise. So when Jesus was on the cross and he says to the thief next to him, "This day you will be with me in paradise," he's referring to this place, the righteous side of Hades and Sheol, called Abraham's bosom or paradise. Now we can get a better understanding when we look at the account that Jesus gives in Luke 16, verses 19 to 31. Now, this is the story of the rich man and Lazarus. Some people say it's a parable, but it's not a parable because Jesus never names names in parables. You know, he either calls them a merchant, the Samaritan, the farmer, the sower. But here, he actually names names in this account. So it's an actual account that Jesus is giving. He names Lazarus, he names Abraham, and he names Moses in this account. This account of the rich man and Lazarus. So the rich man is dining lavishly, dressed in purple and fine linen, just showing how wealthy he is. And outside his gate sat Lazarus, covered in sores, and the dogs came and licked the sores. And his desire was to eat just the crumbs that fall off the rich man's table. And then Lazarus dies, and the angels come and take him to Abraham's bosom. The rich man also dies and is buried. And then the text says that the rich man looks up and sees Abraham afar off and Lazarus with him. So I think it's poignant to point out that the rich man is not in this place of torment and flames because he's rich. He's there because he didn't put his faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And also Lazarus is not in the place of the righteous because he's poor. He's there because he had faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So the rich man asked Abraham to send Lazarus to dip his finger in water to cool his tongue because he is in this place of torment. And of course Abraham says, "Listen, mate, there's a great divide between us, and those of us who are over here can't come to where you are, and those of you who are over there can't come to where we are." Now, unfortunately, even biblical scholars seem to think that Abraham's bosom is heaven. At this point in time, there are no people in heaven because you need Jesus to shed his blood on the cross before all those in Abraham's bosom can actually go to heaven. There are actually two exceptions to that, though. Enoch and Elijah, which God translated them into heaven. So all those in Abraham's bosom or paradise had to wait to the death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah. And then when Jesus ascended into heaven, The scripture says he took captivity captive. So he took all those who were in Abraham's bosom, or paradise, the righteous side of Hades and Sheol. He took them up to heaven. So when a believer dies, your body goes to the ground, but your spirit goes to heaven. But if you're an unbeliever, your body goes to the ground, but your spirit still goes down to that unrighteous side of Hades and Sheol, where you are in torment and flames along with the rich man. So if you're thinking of a place called hell and human beings are in torment and flames, then you're actually thinking of this place called Hades. So that's Hades. Now let's have a look at Gehenna, the lake of fire. Now, Gehenna is a transliteration of the Hebrew word Gehenna. And Gehenna means the valley of Hinnom in Jerusalem. And in one point in the history of Israel, this valley of Hinnom was a place where they sacrificed children to the god Moloch. Then later on, they turned that into a rubbish dump where they were forever burning rubbish. And so there's an association made with this rubbish burning forever place called the Valley of Hinnom to the lake of fire. So we called it Gehenna. So that's what we think of when we think of the lake of fire, Gehenna. Now, there are no inhabitants, human inhabitants, in the lake of fire. In fact, there are no inhabitants at all in the lake of fire. The first inhabitants of the lake of fire is the Antichrist, or the beast, and the false prophet. This is according to Revelation chapter 19. And they are cast into the lake of fire and are the only inhabitants of the lake of fire for 1,000 years during the millennial reign of Christ here on earth. Now, after the millennial kingdom, Satan is also thrown into the lake of fire. And then we have the great white throne judgment, where all the unbelievers are resurrected, judged according to their deeds, and then also thrown into the lake of fire. And this will be the first time that humans inhabit Gehenna, or the lake of fire. This will be the final destination for the false prophet, the Antichrist, Satan and his angels, and all unrighteous, unbelieving human beings. It also says in Revelation that death and Hades will be thrown into the lake of fire. So Hades and Gehenna are definitely two different places, and it's unfortunate that we have one English word that translates them as hell. So hopefully that gives you a better understanding of the term hell in the English, that it actually refers to two different places where humans go. One is Hades, which now only the unrighteous go, and the other place would be the eternal damnation, the final destination of all unbelievers and those who rebel against the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Hopefully that gives you a better understanding. May the Lord bless you and keep you. And let's make Christianity biblical again. Shalom.